Hello, welcome to Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here. And for this video, I am going to be talking about a couple new releases from Warner Archive, who I think, we collectors are very curious about where Warner Archive is headed, and, we hope they will continue to put out movies. They seem to still be announcing movies, and there was some talk of don't quote me on this part, but some kind of a merger with Universal Home Entertainment in terms of distribution, maybe. I saw something posted about like a Variety article. So I'm hoping that is indicative of maybe Warner Archive will be sticking around for a little while, because they're definitely starting to do some fun stuff. I mean, not starting, they have always been, but in terms of right now, we just got, for instance, two of the Thin Man sequels have come out, and I'm going to touch on this in this video, but we also have another series of films that I'd love to see them complete before they stop producing Blu-rays. I'd love them to just keep going, because I really enjoy what they do. I think their transfers are second to none. They always are incredibly good looking. And anyway, let me get into this. So the two I'm going to talk about today are Isle of the Dead and the Bermuda Depths. And then I've got some pairings. I'm going to offer some movies that may work with, these films, perhaps. And in the first instance, it's going to be obvious stuff, basically, because Isle of the Dead from 1945 stars Boris Karloff and Ellen Drew, who I remember recently seeing in Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July. She's very striking in this, and she's very good. And this one is about a small island off the coast of Greece, where there's like some kind of secret strangeness happening. And there's a dreadful sense that once you step onto the soil, you must remain on this island forever. And this military general, played by Boris Karloff, is a visitor to the island. He goes there with a reporter, a military embedded reporter, and ostensibly to see the remains of his wife, who is supposed to be in this mausoleum. And they go there, and the crypts are empty, and it's unclear what's happened. But it says, going to the island to honor the grave of his late wife, Farides, that's the general, discovers that it's held in the grip of a terrifying plague, a sickness that enters the victim's mind and drives them insane. Farides leads the fight against the plague, but then falls prey to it himself. In his delirium, he believes that a woman named Thea, Ellen Drew, is a Vorvolaka, a vampire responsible for the deaths and insanity that runs rampant. And grave robbery, premature burial, and ghastly vampires are all sort of hinted at more than anything. This is a real subtle and nuanced film from 1945. Of course, a Val Lewton production. I should have led with that. And I love Val Lewton. And this transfer looks fantastic. This is an RKO film, part of their horror unit that Val Lewton oversaw in the 40s, and they did a series of really excellent low-budget horror films that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But yeah, I was really impressed with this transfer. This one also includes a commentary by screenwriter and film historian Dr. Steve Haberman, which I thought had been ported over from a Blu-ray set I'm going to show you here in a second. But it doesn't look like it was. So I guess that's a new commentary, and it's good. And so I'm really glad they included a commentary on this disc. That's what this looks like, and the disc itself. And of course, for those that know, this is a pressed Blu-ray, not a burn. So that's Isle of the Dead. Now, what I was talking about is this. the Val Lewton horror collection. And so this came out a while ago, and as Blu-ray fans, we've been sort of slowly checking off, like, okay, we got, and I'll show you these Blu-rays, but basically we have Cat People, Curse of the Cat People, the Body Snatcher, the Leopard Man, but we're missing Bedlam, the Seventh Victim, I Walked with a Zombie, which is the huge one that I'm really shocked hasn't come out. I hope that is next if they're going to do some more, and here's hoping. And Ghost Ship. None of those movies have made it to Blu-ray yet from this set. So I'm holding on to this set because I want to make sure I have them all on Blu-ray. But we have gotten quite a few from Scream Factory and one from Criterion. And it's unfortunate because apparently it wasn't a big seller for them. And I understand it's a business and you have to have stuff that sells. And apparently, despite the fact that horror fans seem to really be on board with Hammer movies, which, to be fair, are in color and are, 10 to 20 years after this kind of thing, those apparently sell well, but this kind of stuff wasn't flying off the shelves, apparently. So they had to discontinue. I think they had announced, I want to say they had announced Isle of the Dead. Maybe they had announced Bedlam. I can't remember. But they stopped. They had to cancel that release, and I think a lot of people are still kind of bummed about that. I know I am, but... okay, let's start at the beginning here. So I think this is one of the first ones that was on Blu-ray. This is Cat People. This is, Jacques Turner film, Val Lewton produced. Their big hit right out of the gate. And this is a Criterion Blu-ray, and it's really great. I mean, it's got a new 2K restoration, audio commentary, and, interview with actor Simone, who's a part of it. It has Val Lewton, The Man in the Shadows, a 2008 feature-length documentary, which was part of this set. It was paired with The Seventh Victim. With The Seventh Victim is the other one. I Walk with a Zombie and The Seventh Victim are two that I'm dying to get on Blu-ray, and I really hope, again, that happens at some point. But anyway, so you get that documentary on here and some other great extras. This one is, just the story of a gentleman in Manhattan who he sort of meets this woman who believes that because of an ancient curse, any physical intimacy with a man she loves will turn her into a feline predator. And so that kind of is the story, but it's very, literary and very low key, and it has some really great uses of darkness, so where you can't see things happening, you can hear things happening. Some great uses of sound buses, in this case, the literal bus that pulls up next to one of the female characters and just, makes this loud screeching sound in the soundtrack. And it's like the beginnings of the jump scare is what it is, kind of. Anyway, they use a lot of great techniques in Cat People. It's really good. And then the Scream Factory ones, which I have all of them, and they're all really good. The Body Snatcher, this is another, as I said, Val Lewton, and this one's directed by Robert Wise, and it's kind of about, again, sort of another doctor who has made a unseemly deal with a very nefarious dude, played by Boris Karloff in one of my favorite performances. And he's really good in Isle of the Dead too, but I love him in this, where the guy will go and get bodies for him to use for his medical students and his experiments. And sometimes he might dig up fresh bodies. Sometimes he might facilitate the body pickup some other way. And so there's sort of a conflict that arises throughout the film, and it's just really creepy and well done. And yeah, I just love this one. This one's really great and has some really great extras, commentary, and all these look great. They all have new scans, so I would assume if Warner wasn't involved, I'd be surprised if it wasn't done on some level by their motion picture imaging group, or helped by that, because this has got a new 4K scan and a commentary and featurettes, and so that one's good. Then you have The Leopard Man. I'm not doing these necessarily in order. This one is by Jacques Turner again, who did Cat People, and it's kind of about a woman who has like a nightclub act down in Mexico, and her promoter boyfriend dude, played by Dennis O'Keefe, thinks he can spice up her act by having her walk out to the stage with a leopard on a leash. And she walks out to the stage, and the woman who was performing before is kind of annoyed by this, showboating, and she has castanets as part of her act. And she does some stuff with the castanets and scares the leopard, and it either breaks the leash or just takes off and gets loose in this village. And then people are sort of starting to be killed, and it's unclear if it's the leopard doing it or if it's somebody killing people to sort of blame it on the leopard. And that's sort of how the movie plays out. Again, some really great sequences that use darkness and sound in a fantastic way, and I'm a big fan of this one. This one has a commentary from film historian Konstantin Nasser, and another one from William Friedkin, which was on the DVD. So 2 commentaries on that. These are all things you could pair with Isle of Dead. And last but not least, one of my favorites, and one that I came to appreciate even more with this Blu-ray, is The Curse of the Cat People. Sort of the follow-up to Cat People, but they end up making it more of a weird continuation where Kent Smith from the first movie has a daughter that I guess is kind of Irina's daughter. Irina is Simone, the Catwoman from the first movie, but she sees her as a ghost and is sort of dealing with her own issues as being a little kid, and there's some Sleepy Hollow origin myths in here. It's a whole mix of stuff, but it's really excellent. Like, I was surprised when I watched it on the DVD. I was like, oh, I like this, but whatever. And watching it on this Blu-ray, I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorite Val Lewton films ever. It's just really, really good. I think maybe the fact that I had a daughter in between the time that I saw it and resaw it definitely had an impact. But anyway, this has a Steve Haberman commentary and another commentary, and really good stuff. Okay, so those are all the Val Lewton stuff we have happening. And as I said, I do hope we get the rest of these, I guess, from Warner Archive moving forward. I would hope that the Warner Archive crowd would be more into the Lewton stuff and it would sell well via the Warner Archive brand. People seem excited about it. He's like, Val Lewton is a big deal and one of the icons of classic cinema as far as I'm concerned. So I do hope that the Lewton releases will continue. Let's hope we get to see a few more announcements in the next couple months to kind of give some indication, oh yeah, they may be continuing to work on this. So that's the hope. And then, the other Warner Archive movie, The Bermuda Depths. This is from 1978. It is a TV movie. It is produced by and story by Rankin Bass, the gentleman who produced some of your favorite, Christmas specials, like the stop motion stuff, like Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all the that kind of stuff. Their stuff. Their stop motion animation stuff is very specific and signature, and this is not that at all. This is one of the few, and I can't say for sure if it's the only or the first or whatever, one of the few live action productions they did. And it's pretty weird, I'll be honest. And it's one of those movies that you see, and I think a lot of people did as a kid, and it just had this effect on them. It just scarred them in a way, and they were always kind of trying to figure out, what was that movie with the giant turtle? And yeah, you heard that right. This movie has a giant sea turtle in it. That's kind of the signature bit about it. The back says, what secret lurks 20,000 feet below the waves in the paranormal realm called the Bermuda Triangle? That's the question a scientist, Burl Ives, his student, Carl Weathers, and a young man, Lee McCloskey, haunted by nightmarish memories of his Bermuda childhood, ask themselves. The answer involves a beauty, Connie Selica, who has sold her soul for eternal youth, and a giant sea turtle that leaves death in its wake. Eerie and hypnotic, The Bermuda Depths was produced by Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, The Year Without a Santa Claus, who meld their imaginative fantasy style with the live-action horror genre. And you kind of get a small sense of what is happening. You see Burl Ives back there, and there's the turtle with the glowing eyes, and Connie Selica and the turtle are psychically linked, and it's weird, but I like it, and I'm really excited that Warner's is continuing to put out TV movies on Blu-ray because, again, they look great. This one includes the 1:33:1 original aspect ratio that it was produced in, and it also includes a 16:9 185:1 transfer that you can watch as well. The 1:33:1 transfer comes with a new commentary track, which was recorded for this, and it is with Amanda Reyes, author and film historian, and Lance Vaughn, co-founder of Kindertrauma, a website that deals with all kinds of movies, that had this effect on people, that they are trying to remember that movie that screwed them up as a kid. And what was it? Oh, it had the giant turtle, et cetera, et cetera. Amanda is a TV movie expert. She's done multiple commentaries for Warner Archive in the past. She has a great book called Are You in the House Alone? A TV movie compendium, 1960 something, 1990 something. Look that up online and pick up the book because it's great. It's full of tons of little mini reviews and recommendations for TV movies. She has a great podcast called Made for TV Mayhem that I highly recommend, where she and her co-hosts talk about TV movies, and that's the show. And they go deep on stuff that I definitely don't know that well, and filmmakers and actors that I don't know that well. So she is really somebody that I admire in terms of her knowledge of this kind of stuff. Now, that said, this track is really neat. I was listening to it just before recording this, and they were starting to touch on, the history of the film and some themes, and, just a great sort of overview and analysis of the movie. And they both just have a lot of interesting stuff to say, and I appreciated both of their points of view on the film. So I love it when Warner Archive does get it together and get a commentary track, something just as simple as that, to give you a little extra added oomph to want to pick up a movie like this. Like if you're into old 70s TV movies, especially weird ones with giant sea turtles, this is definitely something you want to see, but having that commentary track makes me a little more excited to own it and more excited to recommend it to other people to check out, because they are giving you insights and appreciation for this film, and it's great. So very cool to have that. And this is obviously the Blu-ray debut of this film. That's what it looks like. Okay, so my pairings for Bermuda Depths. Let's get into this here, shall we? So you got a giant sea turtle. There's an image towards the end of the movie I'm not going to give away, but it's always haunted me. It has to do with Carl Weathers and the turtle, and it's just one of those things when every time I see it, it just kind of, even now, makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But there's sort of an idea there for me where it's like you're messing with some giant creature you shouldn't have messed with, kind of thing. And so one of the first movies that came to mind in terms of that is Orca the Killer Whale. Starring Charlotte Rampling and Bo Derek and Richard Harris, Robert Carradine, score by Morricone. And this one is, Man of the Sea, played by Richard Harris, is a fisherman who takes up the fight of his life against one of nature's most fearsome creatures and killers, the killer whale. Orca seeks to avenge the death of his pregnant mate, left murdered in the blood-red waters rising from the ocean, leaving behind it a wake of destruction and mayhem. The deadly marine creature lures his human adversaries to match wits and survival in the chilly Arctic waters. So yeah, it's just like Jaws-y, very much a Jaws-type movie. And this is the Umbrella Blu-ray. There is a Scream Factory Blu-ray. I haven't picked that up yet. I did see some screenshot comparisons, and I guess I was like, I'm going to stick with this. I'm not that there was any significant difference, but I kind of liked the transfer a little better on the Umbrella. It says it's region B, but it, I believe, is all region, despite that. I should double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And this one has and audio commentary by film historian Lee Gambin, who I'm a big fan of. That's another reason I wanted to keep this one. And something called Moby Dick a la De Laurentiis. Martha De Laurentiis remembers Orca. So you got an interview with Martha De Laurentiis on this disc as well. Anyway, very emotional, very memorable, big fish kind of movie. Again, don't mess with nature because it's bad news. Jaws with heart, as it says there. So that's one pairing. Another one, another big animal in the water, Lake Placid. So coming over to Scream Factory for this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I think very enjoyable animal attack movie with Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Brendan Gleeson, Oliver Platt. I'm trying to think who else is in here. There's a few others that I like very much. Betty Davis. It's just sort of a case of an investigative team armed with state-of-the-art equipment, high-powered weaponry, and a biting sense of sarcasm must work together to defeat Black Lake's most ferocious resident, a 30-foot prehistoric crocodile. And this was written by David E. Kelly of Ally McBeal and Boston Legal. This one is directed by Steve Miner, who did Friday the 13th Parts 2 and 3. Just a director that I kind of dig, and I haven't heard too much with him. And he's interviewed on this disc, which is rare because it feels like I don't see him interviewed or talking about his films that much. So that was kind of cool to have that. But I just remember seeing this in the theater and really enjoying it, and it's still fun, so I just thought might be a fun pairing with a giant turtle movie, their reptile connection. I don't know what I'm doing here, guys, but I just pulled it down. It felt like something you could pair with that. It might be fun. And this one's a DVD, but on the topic of unusual people doing a live action animal attack movie, which is, it's stretching. This is more of a weird, dreamy. Animal attack is involved, but I wouldn't even call it that. It's very strange. But it's Rankin Bass doing live action. I thought, well, what about, something where you have Hanna-Barbera doing an animal attack movie? And this is another Warner Archive title. I would love to see this on Blu-ray, but it doesn't exist on Blu-ray currently. The Beasts Are on the Streets. And this is directed by Peter Hunt, who is an editor and director of some Bond movies. And it's a lot of fun if you're into this sort of thing. It's basically like an animal. It's like a zoo, but it's like a safari kind of zoo where they have like big cats roaming these caged areas, and you go on a tram and you kind of go by the fences, and you see them. And basically you have a truck driver, through happenstance, ends up crashing his truck into a section of the fence line for this park. And it ends up letting a whole bunch of animals out. He knocks down like 2 or 3 enclosures. So you have suddenly, tigers and, camels and zebras and everything just charging through the freeway and busting into a suburban neighborhood. And it's just totally my kind of movie. It's a TV movie, but I think it's a lot of fun. And it's got Carol Lindley in it, and Billy Greenbush, Philip Michael Thomas from Miami Vice there. And again, this is a much more grounded, realistic disaster movie kind of take on animals attack, where this is, like I said, very dreamy and strange and has a giant sea turtle with glowing eyes. Like, these are real animals, and they're really jumping on people and their cars. And anyway, I just like the idea of like, hey, what about this entity that we know for ostensibly doing kids programming? In this case, Hanna-Barbera did obviously tons of cartoons and shaped my childhood. And here's a TV movie they did that's very much not that. And so I thought, okay, that could be a fun pairing, Rankin Bass and Hanna-Barbera. Anyway, that will do it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up about those 2 new Warner Archive Blu-rays. And, here's hoping for more Val Lewton and more TV movies in the future from them. If you like this sort of thing, please do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel. And let me know if you've picked up anything from Warner Archive in the recent months. Maybe picked up some stuff from the sale. I know that was a big deal, and a lot of people went kind of crazy. Give me some highlights. Let me know what you picked up and what you like from them. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.